In the minds of human beings, gold has always been associated with wealth and power. Its shiny and beautiful appearance made it a desirable material for the creation of jewelry and religious objects. Kings used it to decorate their palaces, and priests to adorn their temples. During the Renaissance, explorers sailed across the ocean in search of gold, and along the way discovered the continent of America. But the main role of gold has always been to serve as an international currency which is accepted by merchants all over the world. Even though officially we've stopped using it as money, central banks continue to hold it as part of their reserves. So what makes gold such a special element? Why do we think that private people like yourselves should nowadays own some gold? Gold has a high value because it is one of the rarest elements in the universe. Scientists are not certain how it is created. Some of them claim that it is forged at the core of a dying star, during what we call a supernova. Others believe that it can only be generated by a collision of two neutron stars. Either way, everyone agrees that the formation of gold requires extraordinary conditions, which the human race has no ability to reproduce. Theoretically, it is possible to artificially produce gold in a particle accelerator, in a process called nuclear transmutation. But this requires such a huge amount of energy and yields such a tiny amount of metal that it cannot be done commercially. Due to its heavy weight, all the gold that existed on Earth during its formation had already sunk into its core. Therefore, the gold that we mine today comes from asteroids that collided with the Earth in later times. Gold is so rare that throughout human history, only about 200,000 tons of it have been mined. This is such a small amount that it can be stored inside 3 Olympic swimming pools. If we were to cast it in the shape of a cube, its side would only measure about 22 meters. If we were to divide it by the number of human beings on the planet, we would only get about 26 grams of gold per person. Other properties that contribute to the high value of gold are its great durability and malleability. Gold does not tarnish like copper or rust like iron, and therefore can be stored indefinitely without being damaged. It is not toxic like lead or nickel, and is not harmful to the skin. It can be stretched into long wires or pounded into thin leaves. Therefore, gold is particularly suitable for the production of jewelry and works of art. These properties are also useful for monetary purposes. Gold's ability to withstand the elements allows us to save it over time. Its ease of processing enables us to divide it into small pieces in order to give change, and later join them back into a larger nugget without damaging the value of the gold. Even in its natural form, gold meets the first 4 requirements of good money: durable, portable, scarce, and divisible. When the first gold coins were minted, with a uniform size and purity, gold began to fulfill the 5th requirement as well: fungible. No wonder then that all over the ancient world people adopted the monetary system which was based on gold coins, and that it served us well for thousands of years. As a matter of fact, this method was used one way or another until 1971, when the last link between the US dollar and gold was severed. In the past 50 years, for the first time in recorded history, there is not a single country in the world whose currency is backed by gold. I believe that this is the main reason for all the economic crises we have experienced since then and for the high inflation we suffer from today. Since gold has a monetary history lasting thousands of years, people tend to keep it. Most of the gold that has ever been mined is still with us today, kept safe in the vaults of a central bank or some wealthy family. Therefore, the amount of new gold that is mined from the ground each year is only a small addition of less than 2% compared to the entire stock. This fact tends to stabilize the price of gold and prevent huge price swings. Even if the mining companies have a particularly successful year and manage to produce twice as much as any other year, this will not significantly affect the overall amount available for purchase. In this sense, gold is different from other commodities such as coffee or wheat, whose price may change radically as a result of the prevailing conditions of each and every year. In economic jargon, this feature is called a high stock-to-flow ratio, and it is a characteristic of monetary use. Another aspect of the gold market which helps stabilize its price is the constant industrial demand. Gold is used in multiple industries, such as jewelry, electronics, and aerospace. Even if for some reason humanity decided to stop using gold as money, the industrial demand will remain the same, preventing the price from collapsing. Gold is the only metal that conducts electricity well and is completely resistant to corrosion. Therefore, it is necessary for the production of electronic circuits. For instance, in each of the mobile phones we use, there are on average 30 milligrams of gold. This is a very small amount, but it is absolutely vital for the proper operation of the device. This assures us that the demand for gold will never disappear. The combination of all these properties makes gold naturally immune to inflation. Unlike paper notes that can be easily printed, gold cannot be created out of thin air. In order to obtain gold, it must be mined from the ground, in a process that requires enormous amounts of energy and labor. When the national currency is backed by gold, the ability of the central bank to print money is limited, and the government is forced to rein in its spending and balance the budget. In the past, this was referred to as golden handcuffs, which tie the government's hands and limit its power. Since the gold standard was abolished, central banks are able to print an unlimited amount of money and finance the government's deficits. As a result, the money supply increases and we experience inflation. Even in the absence of inflation, gold is a good hedge against economic crises. What most asset classes have in common is that they depend on someone's goodwill. The value of a stock depends on the performance of the company. The value of a bond depends on a debtor's ability to pay on time. Even the availability of the cash that we keep in our checking account depends on the stability of the bank. If all of our money is invested in these assets, we have no protection against a total crisis in the financial system. Physical gold is the only asset that can be held outside of the banking system, knowing that it will be available in times of crisis. Therefore, it serves as an insurance policy against those extreme scenarios which we all hope will never happen. Since the United States reneged on its promises and suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold, its price has risen dramatically. During the 1970s, the price of gold went up 20-fold, from $40 an ounce to $800 an ounce. This coincided with a period of high inflation and stagnation in the American economy. In order to deal with this crisis, in 1974, the US government signed an agreement with Saudi Arabia, which stipulated that the Saudi kingdom will sell its oil for dollars only, in return for American military protection. This is the origin of the petrodollar that generates a constant demand for dollars in the international markets. However, this was not enough to stop the inflation, which continued to rage until 1980. What finally defeated the inflation was the decision of the chairman of the Federal Reserve at the time, Paul Volcker, to raise the interest rate up to 20%. It was a painful step that temporarily threw the US economy into a recession, but it was necessary to prevent the collapse of the dollar. As a result, confidence in the US dollar was restored, and the global economy resumed its growth. The price of gold gradually declined, and for the next 20 years traded around $400 an ounce. However, in the year 2000, inflation started to rear its ugly head again. The dot-com bubble in technology stocks had burst, and the central bank in the US again reduced its interest rate. This led to a meteoric rise in the price of commodities, and especially gold. Between the years 2000 and 2011, the price of gold climbed by roughly 600%, setting a new all-time high of $1,920 an ounce. Between 2013 and 2019, the price of gold experienced a prolonged correction, trading around $1,200 an ounce. The tremendous rally in the stock market, together with the central bank's promises to gradually raise interest rates and reduce its balance sheet, gave people the impression that the United States economy is headed towards growth, and that the dollar's position is strong. But those who kept a close watch on the markets could already sense in 2019 that the global economy is weakening. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, it became clear that growth is nowhere near. In a desperate attempt to bail out the economy, the Federal Reserve once again turned on the printing press and flooded the economy with trillions of dollars. As a result, inflation erupted with an intensity the likes of which we haven't seen in 40 years. The price of gold rose sharply, reaching a new all-time high of $2,070 an ounce in the summer of 2020. Since then, the price of gold is again in a correction. The promises of the central banks to raise interest rates and fight inflation convinced the investors that this is a temporary phenomenon, which will be over soon. But I suspect that this is a false hope, and that inflation will remain high for many years to come. Similar to what happened during the 70s, I believe this will be detrimental both to the stock market and the bond market. In that case, the price of gold has the potential to rise a lot further, and in the coming years set new all-time highs. Hello, my name is Oren Elbaz, and I am the Silver Hermit. Since 2013, I've been publishing articles about the state of the global economy in simple and straightforward language that everyone can understand. For years, I've been arguing that central bank policy of low interest rates and QE is irresponsible and dangerous. Time and time again, I've warned that it will lead to inflation. Now, this warning has turned into reality. We're suffering from a continuing economic crisis and from painful inflation. But despite a difficult situation, we must not sink into despair. I believe there are ways to deal with this crisis and perhaps even benefit from it. The best thing we can do is to invest in our financial education. The saying knowledge is power is especially true in this day and age. So please subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends and family. Hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I release a new video. Remember, these are dangerous times, but together we will reach a safe harbor. Before we say goodbye, a few words of warning. I am not a licensed financial advisor. This video is intended for general informational purposes only and should not be regarded as investment advice. Before taking any investment decision, please consult with a professional financial advisor who may assess your personal investment objectives and needs.